Hey, racing fans, Scott Shapiro here with Mike Beer to preview one of the bigger Grade 1 races, graded stakes races at Keeneland this weekend. It's the First Lady at 1 mile over the turf for the ladies. We'll get to it in just a moment. But first, wanted to remind racing fans or let you know for the first time about the Off the Track podcast. It's with our colleague, Gino Bacola. He's the host each week. He's had some great guests already on there. The guest this week, the red hot New York-based trainer, Miguel Clement. He's had Emma Jane Wilson on, Barbara Livingston, Mark Cassie, a wide array of some of racing's biggest names, and promises to have a lot more. And you should subscribe to the YouTube channel because you'll be reminded about that and all the other work we're doing here. But if not, you can listen to where podcasts are found. I like to listen to Spotify when I turn to the audio route. But either way, Off the Track, check it out. Gino and Miguel Clement this week. All right, Mike, the First Lady, 1 mile over the turf, standing room only. Could barely fit them on the graphic here. But yeah, lots to get through here. But Chad Brown, he's had a lot of success in this race over the last 7 years. He's won all 7 of them, including with Gino Romantico over the last couple of years. He's got 2 in here, but I guess it's kind of easy to say that they aren't overly scared of the 2 that he has based on the amount that entered in here. We don't usually get this big of a field for this race.
And very fair to say that. You're right. This is a huge field here. And it feels like a well-matched one, too, because it's going to be a full gate. You know, the trips in this race are going to be super important. Does feel like Chad will, even though he doesn't have necessarily a standout in here, it feels like he is going to have the favorite with number 5, Dynamic Pricing, who's just been in excellent form so far this year for Chad.
Yeah, she's been tough to knock so far, but she will be, and she is a little bit pace dependent as we take a look at the projector. And, you know, some races come up real obvious to me. There's going to be a lot of speed. There's not. This one's a little bit tricky. And, how much confidence do you have that the race is going to play out like the projector says? It doesn't have it as fast. It doesn't have it as slow. It's got Rakea on the lead. Choicia right there in the pocket. I don't know. What do you make of it?
Yeah, I will say the one note that I did have when I went through this field, and it's a big field, and so you might have just horses leaving for position that could heat things up early in here, but there's not a ton of speed in this race. So, they may not be going super fast early in here. And I, have no argument with the pace projected that Rakea could be the one just, by virtue of having an inside post and having the speed that she has, that maybe she will be the one cutting this pace, but she might not be going that fast.
Yeah, and it's Johnny V aboard for the first time, not afraid to be aggressive. Interesting to me, the one thing that I thought maybe that number 5 Dynamic Pricing would have the late pace Chicklet, but instead it's number 4 Simply in front. Both fillies in very good form and can certainly finish. Let's get started with the field. We've got a couple of horses that at one point shipped here from overseas, starting with number 1 Choicia, who made a very strong impression, as we'll take a look at it now, in the Jenny Wiley over this turf course back on April 12th, pulling an upset at nearly 7-1. Has not run as well in previous starts after that. Maybe you could argue against better fields, not as good at trips. Hasn't hit the board, though, in either of them, but this is definitely a potential bounce-back spot.
Yeah, I think so, too, Scott, mostly because I feel like her 2 Saratoga races, obviously 2 tough grade 1s, they were also run over less than firm turf, and I don't really feel like that necessarily helps a mare like her. Her just a game. That was a total bog of a turf course. She didn't look particularly comfortable over it. She got a super wide trip in that race. I would just sort of give her a pass for that one. Last time they decided to put her on the lead, and I don't think she had, some kind of huge excuse in there. But I also feel like, at least when I look at her, I don't think she really is at her best going 9 furlongs. I think a mile is a perfect distance for her. She cuts back. She's got a great post. She's got great tactical speed. I think she's going to get a really, really good trip in this race, and she's a top class mare. I mean, she can her best race makes her super tough in here.
No disagreement there, without question. A major player, Rakea, another previously European import, and this is a daughter of Blue Point, who makes her second start of the form cycle. And we'll take a look now at the, or will we take a look now? We'll take a look when we look at Dynamic Pricing. Yeah. Rakea was second in that race. It was the perfect sting. Prior to that, Speed and Fade in the Bogea grade 3, but 5 for 11, but just the 1 win in the States in the Gold Dakova. That was last year before entering the Todd Pletcher barn. But again, she might be forward here with the right rider aboard.
Yeah, we'll see what she does. I don't know, Scott. I mean, maybe she makes the lead in here and gets a really easy trip and sort of takes the step forward that I believe that she needs to take. She's got the one win since she arrived stateside, and that was the Gold Cover, where she just got absolutely loose on a slow pace and made that field pay. Her other races, to me, just don't make her good enough, and that includes the Perfect Sting last time, where, at least in my opinion, she was just no match for dynamic pricing.
I agree with that. Nanda Dea is an interesting runner here, a 6-year-old mare. Trainer Nacho Correas. He's had a lot of these South American imports over the years, and he's going to return to Argentina at the end of the year, Mike. He's retiring. It's been a great career. He had Blue Prize, was one of the best, if not the best, of his training career. But when he's meant business lately with these two-turn turf horses, he's had Jose Ortiz aboard. And this mare, actually, 4-5 mare, ran 2 big races since she's been here in the States. Now, the question you have to ask yourself is, where's she been? You know, you would have expected her to have a good spring and or summer, but she hasn't raced since. That being said, she's got a long series of works here locally, and she looks ready to run for a guy that might not have that many more starters under his belt, and for a mare that's only lost twice in her career.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it saved the one time they tried a mile and a quarter with her over in Argentina. She's undefeated on the grass. She doesn't really want to go that far, but the shorter distances work for her. I mean, I don't think you could look at her and say, oh, they just laid her off and they were waiting for this. I'm assuming that they wanted to run her in some bigger races earlier this year, and it didn't work out. But I also feel like once they got to a point where that wasn't going to happen, they probably did point for this race. So we'll see what she can do here, Scott. Obviously, this is not an easy spot for her. And I would say she's looked good winning her 2 starts over here. She got perfect trips at both of those races, but she also really ran. And I don't know, man. Why can't she get another good trip in this race? I mean, she's got an inside post. She's got tactical speed. I can see her sitting in the right spot here at a price and really making her presence felt.
Yeah, hopefully the trip will be there. I think that's imperative for her to have her best chance. Pretty much true for most turf horses. I think it's true
Yeah.
for number 4, Simply in Front, who we can pretty much guarantee will not be in front in this race. 3rd start of the form cycle. She didn't have things her way for a number of starts in 2024, but I think since then it's been going the other way. Other than the Just a Game, she's been there at the wire in 3 or 4 starts this year. I don't know if she's going to get the setup, but I don't know if she can outkick dynamic pricing, though.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. I mean, I know that the Time From US thinks that she's the best closer in the race. I don't think that she is, but that doesn't mean that I don't think she's pretty good. Because what I like most about her is I think she's hard to really fall in love with in this race, but I think she's really improved as a 4-year-old. She was okay last year. I think she's really taken a step forward this year. I like all of her races, and the one time that dynamic pricing beat her soundly in the Just a Game, again, that was a bog of a turf course, and this really wound up last around the final turn there. She actually ran an underrated race that day.
Big price that day as well. We'll move to the aforementioned number 5, dynamic pricing, who has run poor race over the last 4, and those are her 4 starts this year. And I don't even know if I would say it's a poor race in the Diana when Excellent Truth and She Feels Pretty, as we will take a look back at a winning effort. But dynamic pricing is consistently coming with strong runs. She won the Just a Game at 10-1, and here you see her winning when she was a lesser of a price at 9-5. But the only thing I can really knock with her, and it might be a big knock in this race given price, Mike, is the fact that she might not get much of a setup.
Exactly. It's going to be important for her to not only get the right setup, but then also get the right trip. And you see there in the Perfect Sting, as good as she was and as clear cut a winner as she was at the end of that race, it took a little bit of luck for her to get there because she was in trouble there in the stretch and she needed a seam to open up. And it did open up for her. And then, of course, dynamic pricing did the rest. But I really like her form overall, Scott. She was 1 for 6 last year as a 3-year-old, but she ran one good race after another. And a lot of those races, I think, were going a little bit longer than she wants to go. To me, she's a miler on the grass. She wants to sit and make one run. And when she gets the right trip, I think she's the best finisher in this race.
I agree. Number 6, Simmering, is built up to a mile. Number 6 and 7 furlong starts overseas, and she'll make her first start here over in the States. You would think maybe looking for firm ground. She's been keeping strong company overseas. There's no doubt about that. But other than that, I really didn't know what to make of it. Her 2 most recent wins and her 2 only wins are back last year over a good going and a soft going shorter than this. Any look?
Yeah, I just didn't like her form as a 3-year-old enough. She was okay as a 2-year-old, I thought. And after she obviously really outran her odds in the 1,000 guineas there, back in May, she just sort of surprised there and hit the board at a big price. They sort of pressed on in Group 1 races, and she just was no match for those horses. So I don't know. It makes me wonder how good she is, and she's also a 3-year-old filly, shipping over here to take on some older horses. So I didn't really love that about her either.
Yeah, that's definitely a concern as well. Number 7, Heredia has had more success than maybe we expect Simmering to in the first start since she's been here. She came overseas off a long layoff, and it's 12 months or so for Graham Motion, who's brought the 6-year-old mare back. 3 good efforts. She did ride a good rail last time, as we'll take a look at Del Mar and the yellow ribbon, where when the rails are out and you make it, you're the best horse and you make the lead and you're along the inside, you can be very tough to catch. That said, her races before it were pretty good. I think she's got to take a step up, though.
Yeah, she's gonna have to get back to her really good form if she's gonna win here. I wonder if she's gonna be able to do it though, Scott. I mean, she was a really good horse overseas before she missed all that time. I mean, it's almost 2 years of racing that she missed, a year and a half plus. And so I remember when she came back from the Bogey too, her first start back, dynamic pricing beat her, and I thought, oh man, she got a perfect trip in there, and then couldn't get the job done. But I feel like I wasn't giving her enough credit for the amount of time that she had missed, and she had every right to need that race. I thought her De La Rose was underrated, trying to come from last in there. There was not a lot of pace on it. I thought she actually ran deceptively well there. And then obviously just had all the best of it last time, but she dominated those horses. I mean, she's good enough to win this race. She doesn't need the lead to win. And it feels like maybe she's, finally racing herself back into form here after a really, really long layup. I thought she was dangerous in this race.
She came flying in the De La Rose without question. Tyler Gaffalione will take the call here on Heredia for the first time as we move to number 8, Pinup Betty, a daughter of Constitution. Mike Maker's gotten a lot out of this 3 Diamonds farm homebred. She's 4 for 18. She's hit the board in 11 starts. Only one of the 2 starts at Keeneland, Mike. And I just kind of think that while I respect her, I think she's a little better at longer distances, and I think she's a little bit better against softer competition, as most would be.
I'm going to take the same position that you are. It sounds like, I mean, she's another one. I appreciate that. In my opinion, she's improved a lot as a 4-year-old. I just don't know that she's improved enough, because a lot of these other fillies have improved a lot too. And I just think they might be a little bit better than Pinup Betty. But I guess if you like her, I feel like she's going to be a good price in this race. I couldn't get there with her, but it's not like I feel like she has no chance to at least hit the board.
Hitting the board seems pretty reasonable if you're liking Pinup Betty, but again, price sensitive is what this game is about. Number 9, Sagesta, is the other Chad Brown, not dynamic pricing, that gives him a shot to win this race for the 8th straight time. Won her only start over this course. It was all the way back in last year. It was the maiden breaking performance last spring in a race where she was expected to win. She comes off a runner-up effort at Kentucky Downs, and prior to that, kind of an okay effort, I thought, in the matchmaker at Monmouth. A little tongue-tied there. I think she's class-wise fits, makes sense, but is a mile a little bit too sharp for her?
We'll see. I don't. You know what? I wouldn't. The distance wasn't one of the concerns for me. She's one of the horses that, at least in my opinion, hasn't really moved forward yet as a 4-year-old. Obviously, it was a ill-timed layoff for her, because the way I looked at her last year, Scott, I thought she was one of the best 3-year-old fillies on the grass. And, unfortunately for her, she obviously had an issue after the Belmont Oaks, and she missed a ton of time. Since she's come back, I just really haven't been impressed with any of her races. That includes the matchmaker 2 back when she got the job done, but I wasn't impressed with the victory. Last time she did improve to a 98 buyer. I still didn't think that she ran that well in that race. It was at Kentucky Downs, so maybe that had something to do with it, but I just didn't really love the visual of that race for her. To me, she hasn't gotten back into form yet, but I really respected her last year. I thought she was a real good horse.
Understandable takes for sure. Sagesta, not one for me in this spot either. Number 10, Ozara, though, you talk about perfect trips. She got one last time, and she's unlikely to get one in here, drawn to the far outside. I don't know if I want to doubt Irad Ortiz the way he's ridden over the last several months. But all that said, we talked about Miguel Clement being on with Gino this week. He's winning a lot of races, and he's winning them, and he's even making breeders profitable if you just back them blindly, which is what you love to see. And this filly is coming into the race in really good form. I don't know if she was drawn a little bit better. I might have made her my top pick in this race.
I don't disagree with that. But look at her win in the Grade 2 Boston Spa last time, as you sort of pointed out. She got mostly a perfect trip. You can see the horse right to her outside there. Scott sort of trying to pin her over behind the leaders, but Ozara's just going to push her way clear. And then once she really does see daylight, this is an easy and convincing win for her. Another horse has really moved forward at 4. She's coming off of 2, for the most part, perfect trip wins at Saratoga, and maybe that'll be a little bit harder for her to accomplish here, drawn to post 10, but not knocking her recent form. She's coming into this in as good a form as anybody in this field.
Absolutely. Number 11, Great Generation, cannot say the same. Shipping over from Europe, coming in from Great Britain for trainer Marco Botti, and hasn't hit the board in either of the last 2 starts, although good competition, to say the least. The Queen Elizabeth II Jubilee, the Grade 1 at Royal Ascot, and then a Grade 2 event at Newbury. But this is a tough post for a horse stretching out for the first time in the States for the first time. Not a lot I know more than that. How about you?
Yeah, I mean, I guess of the 2 shippers in this race coming over from Europe, I prefer this one, but she just has a terrible post position here, trying a mile for the first time. I thought that made it hard for me to want to bet her.
Jody's Pride is the final in the main body of the race. And this is a daughter of American Pharaoh for Jorge Abreu. And you know her well, I know her well. And she's been, around. I thought she's had a ton of talent. She's run some big races, but she's never gotten back to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies race, where she missed by a neck at a big price. To me at this point, it feels like turf is a reach. Do you disagree?
I kind of, if only because to me she was cut out to be a turf horse early in her career, and they obviously her first 2 starts she was meant for grass. She got rained off, and they decided to stick with it. And all of a sudden she comes up with this big performance at the Breeders' Cup, and so I think they were sort of committed then to try to make her a dirt horse. And it's not like that was the wrong move. She won plenty of races and ran well in plenty of races on dirt, but I think she was cut out to be a turf horse. She just hasn't gotten a chance to really do it yet. They switched her to it last time. I thought she ran fine at Kentucky Downs there. I got a good overall trip, but she was running at the end of that race up the inside. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I love her in this race, Scott, especially from post 12. But I do think there's a chance that at some point, going forward here, that she really moves forward on the grass.
You make fair points. Tough post. Vincent Chaminade, an interesting rider here out there. Not necessarily a very aggressive rider, but we'll see how he handles things. There's 4 in the also eligibles, and I mean we have to talk about number 13, Special Juan. Yeah. Is she the favorite if she gets in this race? I mean, she's got 2 wins and a third in the Just a Game, and the win, she beat Sagesta, who you're not very high on, but I thought she looked much better in that race.
I agree with you. Yeah, she gets in. She's a super dangerous horse, even post position notwithstanding, because she'll need a trip from out there. The other 3 horses on the A list, I have no use for any of them. But if Special Juan gets in, I think she's dangerous.
I agree. Yeah, Special Juan, the one to keep an eye on, absolutely, and the tote board likely to show that. As we turn to selections here in the Grade 1 First Lady, and you're going to go back to choice. Yeah, I kind of sense that. The big effort over this course definitely benefits her, as does the post, and you can draw a line through one of those 2 off the board efforts.
Yeah, just hoping that she can bounce back here. You get firm turf, get back to a mile here, and just fall into a trip like she did in the Jenny Wiley. I think that her good race makes her good enough in here. I will wait and see what kind of price is. I don't want a super short price on her, Scott. The other horse for me that I was really considering is the 7 Heredia. I wound up putting her second, but I think she is going to be a good price in this race, and I'm definitely using her. I think she has races to get back to that would make her really tough in here.
Well, that's why I enjoy these conversations. They're not just for you viewing it, they're for us, or at least me, because I'm upgrading Heredia out of this conversation. You make good points about her back class and third off the layoff. Definitely better. I kind of probably held her yellow ribbon against her a little much. Right. I'm going to roll with the Nacho Correas narrative here. I think Nanda Day was supposed to be a this year's horse for him, like you mentioned. Not the ideal that she didn't run in the spring and summer, but at one point or some point, I think they probably figured this was the spot. They get a good post as well. So I'm going to go with Nanda Dia. Mike, 175.10 for Mike, 310.25 for me. And the First Lady, best of luck.